Welcome to Stories with Soul. I am your host, Jamey Ice, musician turned entrepreneur and co-founder of 6th Ave Homes and 6th Ave Storytelling. Over the past 10 years, I have launched multiple successful businesses and have become obsessed with all things entrepreneurship and marketing. I've been on a personal quest to unpack what it takes to make and grow a great brand. One thing that I've discovered is that stories are powerful and that storytelling has the power to set a brand apart. Join me as I dive into the stories of the heavy-hitting leaders, entrepreneurs, artists, and business owners in our community to hear their biggest wins, greatest losses, and their best business secrets. There's a story behind every great brand. Welcome to Stories with Soul. Stories with Soul is brought to you by my company, 6th Ave Storytelling. In 2020, we launched a marketing company on a mission to encourage entrepreneurship and make starting and growing a small business easier than ever before. Since then, we have helped hundreds of small businesses and entrepreneurs grow their brands by giving them the tools, resources, strategy, and support they need to craft and share their stories. If you are thinking about launching and growing your own brand, schedule a meetup with me today. I would love to talk to you. Head over to 6thAveStorytelling.com and let me show you how the storytelling approach can transform your marketing strategy. Welcome to Stories with Soul. I am your host, Jamey Ice. I am joined by Texas legend, Pat Green.
Pat, legend's a big word.
Hey, man, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that a little bit. So I always kick it off like reading the bio before we start.
Come on, bring it.
Put you in the hot seat.
Tell me how awesome I am.
Well, that's what I'm here for. So Pat is a 2-time Grammy nominee.
3-time, thank you.
3-time. Hey, we didn't talk to your management company because
Sorry about that.
It said 2 on the bio. 3-time. I don't want to take one of those.
It's okay. It's a fun little anecdote right there.
Take one of those from you. You performed on Jimmy Kimmel, Fox and Friends, Fox Edge, CMT, Circle Network, The Opry, and The Outdoor Channel. He's been featured in Rolling Stone. David Letterman. Man,
put that in there too.
We need to get a hold of your publicist. Updated bio.
Well, that was like 20 years ago when I played on Letterman's.
But still, I'm jealous of that. USA Today described Pat as the heartland rocker country music has needed for years. People magazine called him the Springsteen of the Southwest. He's sold over 2 million albums. Is that correct?
More than that, but yeah.
More than that? I want to say 2.
No big deal.
2.
No big
5?
deal. No, more than that. It doesn't
3?
matter.
Do we call it 3?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
He's charted numerous top 10 country radio singles. He's topped Billboard and iTunes country charts. He is the most played artist in the history of the Texas Regional Radio Report. When he's off the clock, he's quietly raised millions of dollars for charity through his annual golf tournament at world-famous Pebble Beach, along with his private fundraisers for the Gladney Foundation. He's had 12 number ones at Texas Radio. Accurate or false?
That's accurate.
Accurate. Okay. 12. He has headlined and sold out the Houston Astrodome. He's toured with Dave Matthews Band, Willie Nelson, Kenny Chesney, and more. His 14th album, Miles and Miles, it's your first album.
Miles and Miles of You, yeah.
In 7 years.
That's right.
And that comes out
this week.
This is going to air later, but in reality, it's coming out this week. So anyways, man, you have done a lot. That's like,
well, you can do a lot in 25 years. I pretty much think anybody can do a lot in 25 years.
Yeah, but you have, so where I wanted to kick us off, and I don't know if you're going to agree with me on this, but I feel like you are one of those artists that kind of changed everything for a genre. Kind of in the way like when Nirvana came on the scene, it was like all this kind of 80s pop stuff, and then they just launched this grunge and alternative, and like when Metallica came on, it was like this just different type of like Mumford and Sons recently kind of launched
love Mumford, by the way.
But I feel like you, I don't want to say are solely responsible, but in my mind are solely responsible for like creating an industry of like Texas country music.
I will say very much like Nirvana and like Mumford, we were the first ones that walked through the door the first time the door got open. Between, like, if you really think about what was going on right before me, was Garth Brooks, Clint Black, Reba. I'm not going to call it plastic, but it was formulaic
Yeah.
in some parts. Now, there are some very, very real parts to it,
Yeah.
or else it wouldn't have been as
Huge as it was.
humongously successful as it was. So don't take anything away from those artists.
Yeah. But
that was the style of the time.
And there was always Texas music. There was Willie Nelson and Jerry Jeff Walker.
That's the transition point. That's the thing. Willie and Jerry Jeff and Robert Earl and those guys who had never changed their style to go into Nashville. Now, they all went to Nashville and all walked away from there with a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
And decided, you know what, I'll just do my thing and hope the world catches up to me.
Yeah.
So they did that. And because they did that and there was this middle ground and there was an awareness of really great music like Willie and Jerry Jeff and Robert Earl, when the floodgate opened for a very organic style of music to come around, I was standing there. It wasn't just me. It was me and Jack Ingram.
Yeah, but
Randy Rogers.
You were the one that I like. You were the Nirvana in my mind. And
we were definitely the first one that went from ground zero to,
because it didn't really exist. Like now, there's
took off.
Like there's people's whose sole job is like, I have Texas country radio stations. I have Texas country radio promoter. I'm a Texas country. Like you created. Again, you didn't create it, but I feel like you maybe opened the door.
I was a part, and I'm happy to have played my part,
which is freaking cool. Like, I wasn't sure if you were going to take that or not, but I like in my mind, I'm like, this thing that is now an industry you launched and sort of made. I was possible.
Just standing there, but the truth is that the reason why I was standing there was because Willie Nelson. I bribed my way onto one of his shows.
Like literal, like you gave him money?
Yeah, I did this a couple of times throughout my life. I did it with Jack Ingram too. Actually, I did it first with Jack Ingram, and it worked so well that I tried it on with Willie Nelson. He was playing in Lubbock, and I went to the bar owner, and I'd been playing shows at the bar.
Because you went to Texas
Tech from 1990. Took 2 years off and graduated in 1997. So anyway, in the middle. Anyway, so I went to the bar and I said, "Hey, Willie Nelson wants me to open this show, and I'll do it for free." But
you said Willie Nelson wants to open.
Yes,
did he want to open?
Total bullshit, right? And then when Willie got there in the morning, I was waiting there in the parking lot and early in the morning. And I was like, "Hey, who's the tour manager?" And they said, "Hey, it's this guy over here, Pootie Locke." And actually he was the stage manager. But anyway, so I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, the bar wants me to be the opening act. I'm doing it for free."
You're hustling.
Totally hustling. And long story short, I got to open for Willie that night. And
because you're like, Willie wants it. He asked for me.
Yeah, exactly. Total full of shit. Anyway, so
that's ballsy.
Pootie Locke, who was the stage manager, I said, "Look, I'll do 2 shows for free if you make this happen. If you'll get me on the 4th of July picnic later. Yeah. This is later in the afternoon. If you'll get me on the 4th of July picnic, I don't care what time. I'll go on at 8:00 in the morning. I'll do 2 shows for free at your bar." So I'm hustle within the hustle.
Yeah.
Right. And so Pootie says, "If you'll do those 2 shows at my bar, I'll get you a slot." So
and did you have like fans and people know, like, were people coming to your show?
There's at least 8 or 9. 10.
Were you good? Like, were you like you've been playing music for how long by then?
That was 94, 95. I don't know, 3-4 years.
So the confidence was, I know I'm good if I just want to get.
I thought it was good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough.
And so you hustled, and they.
I mean, I was still a really shitty opening band. I mean, there's no doubt. But anyway, so luckily between that time and the 4th of July picnic, we recorded a record with Lloyd Maines, and so we kind of really sharpened things up. And it was in Lukenbach, and it was a rainy day, as I recall, and we were literally the first act, right? And it's
outside.
Of course.
Or is it inside?
Outside. Oh, okay, gosh, okay. No. There was 15,000 people.
Wow.
well, there were 15,000 people there for Willie.
Yeah.
There was about 3,000 people there at the time I went on. But anyway, we did 2 songs. We had 10 minutes, and one of them was a 7-minute jam, and the crowd went nuts. And Willie thought there was a fight happening because it was so much noise in the crowd. And he came out and saw me doing my thing. And then from that point on, I got to open a lot of shows.
Then you all became like friends?
Sure. I mean, we didn't become friends until later.
Yeah.
I was.
But he was like, there's something going on. I want to have you.
Right. And it was rather organic that way with Jerry Jeff as well. I was
did you bribe your way onto that, or was it?
No, with Jerry Jeff, I pissed him off. He was playing in Lubbock, and I'd open the show, and there was no connection there. The fraternity hired me to open for Jerry Jeff, and I got done with my show, and he went on, and then I just stayed in his dressing room until he got done. And I had this guitar that had been signed by everybody I'd ever done a show with, Guy Clark and Willie and, everybody, Jerry Clower, And I'm sitting there in the backstage, and I said, Mr. Walker, this is a very special guitar, and I was very proud to open for you tonight. If you wouldn't mind signing it, I'd appreciate it. He goes, how did you get back here?
He got past everybody.
I was like I said, sir, I was the opening act, so I've been back here all night.
Been waiting, stalking.
And so he signed my guitar, and he goes, okay, now I've signed it. You take your special guitar and get that out of my dressing room.
He said that?
Yes. It was so beautiful. It was the greatest memory.
And
right?
did that phase you, or were you just
no, not at all. Are you kidding, man? You couldn't stop. I was a freight train. You couldn't stop me at that time.
Okay, unpack the freight train a little bit. Were you always that, like, because like that's, both of those are kind of ballsy, and then to not. This episode is sponsored in part by Pre-Kindle, the platform designed to empower event creators to develop the best experiences possible for their communities. Did you know that Pre-Kindle was actually founded in DFW and is still headquarters in Dallas? Well, now you do. We love local businesses, and Pre-Kindle is one of the best. With a best-in-class platform of features, no long-term contracts, low service fees, responsive mobile-friendly event pages, and friendly and attentive support, Pre-Kindle is my personal favorite ticketing and marketing platform for any event. Anytime I'm planning something with my band, Green River Ordnance, Pre-Kindle is our go-to platform to use. With an impressive roster of event creators, venues, and entertainment destinations across the nation, Pre-Kindle is hands down the best. In DFW alone, they've partnered with incredible spaces like the Granada Theater, Panther Island Pavilion, the Kessler, Will Rogers Coliseum, the Fort Worth Modern, Tulips, Grizzly Theater, and more. If you have been to an event or venue in DFW, I promise you have likely been using Pre-Kindle and you didn't even know it. Beyond ticketing, Pre-Kindle also helps automatically promote your event. With over 500,000 subscribers in North Texas and partnerships with event discovery sites like Bands in Town, Spotify, Google, they're set up to also help you spread the word. So go to prekindle.com, that's PREKINDLE.com, and click Get Started to begin using the platform. They are on a mission to bring your event to life. This episode of Stories with Soul is sponsored in part by Power Biofarms. As we all strive to become better versions of ourselves, sometimes the effort to be more active and less stressed can leave you feeling more exhausted than ever before. From unwanted prescription side effects to injuries that won't fully heal, many Texans are left feeling frustrated and without hope or restoration. Power Biofarms provides high-quality, Texas-made CBD and cannabis wellness products without chemicals, solvents, or pricey prescriptions. It's all made right here in DFW, from seed to shelf, with the utmost care, quality, and transparency. I had the privilege of getting to work with Colt Power, the founder of Power Biofarms, earlier this year when 6th Avenue Storytelling got to help them unpack their language and dive into their brand, and it was crazy cool. Their story is impactful, and they're doing some beautiful things. They offer a wide variety of craft products, and yes, it's all 100% legal for adults and incredibly safe. Support this local and growing business by starting your order at powerbiofarms.com. That's POWERBIOPHARMS.com.
I have confidence.
As a kid, were you like that?
I think I have ambition, and I came from a family of 10. I was number 8 out of 10.
That's a lot.
And so
you can't even like go to the grocery store all together. Right?
Yeah, no, not in the same car.
That's a lot.
So no, I had to make it my own way, and I mean, later after that, after Jerry, Jeff, and I became friends, and my wife, Corey, we'd go over to his and Susan's house to have dinner all the time. We lived right down the street from them when we lived in Austin.
Okay.
And every time I tell him that story, that didn't happen.
Oh, he doesn't. So he doesn't remember it.
No,
he doesn't remember it.
I mean, there's a lot of backstage memories that people come to me with that that I have no recollection either. But yeah, Jerry Jeff was the one that. Well, I don't know how much closer he is to other artists or anything. I don't want to get into that, but he was the one that made the most sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
He was very just matter of fact. Here's how it works. If you want to make it work, here's how you do it.
So he was kind of a mentor.
Very much a mentor. And then I became great friends with the rest of the family, with Jesse Jane and with Django and Susan. Mm-hmm. And my kids ended up spending nights of their lives in their house when I'm on tour through Austin. I mean, it became a real important part of my life. Jerry Jeff for sure.
That's cool. So you started opening up for these guys.
Yeah.
Out of college, you graduated. But didn't you? Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you like start playing guitar and singing and writing later? Like you didn't do that in like high school.
No, I had an electric guitar when I was 17, but when I got to college, I didn't have an amp. Right, and you can't.
It doesn't make much noise.
Those amps were about like $500, and I'm like, hey man, So, but I could trade in the electric guitar that I had in for an acoustic.
Okay.
And I got a Yamaha, and I played that thing. I played my fingers to the bone.
Just like alone in your room.
Well, actually, no, my roommate hated listening to me learn. So I was down in the basement, and there was a laundromat in the basement of Coleman Hall at Lubbock at Texas Tech. And that's where I...
Just in the laundry hall. So kids are coming and trying to do laundry.
Yes.
You're the guy.
I had a girlfriend at the time that played guitar, with her youth group, and she had written down all the chords and their shapes for me to learn. So,
and had you sung before?
I knew I could sing. I've known I could sing since I was a very young person. I could belt it, and I still can. Were
you loud as a kid?
No, not only loud but obnoxious as well. Yes, I knew I could sing.
Okay.
I had watched my father and stepmother perform on local stage. My dad had played the Music Man. He'd played, a lot of different parts in plays where he had to sing. And so what I really got off on watching him do was singing and controlling the crowd, controlling these people who were watching him do his thing.
The entertainment sort of side of it.
He was really good at that. He was, obviously amateur and local, but
he knew how to make people.
He really
feel
was good
something.
at it. Yeah, he was good at it. But his path was in finance. So, anyway, he watching him do that.
So, did you have ambitions of like, I want to do that too?
Yes,
you did.
Well,
okay.
Mine was different. I was more So, right about the time I fell in love with music was, first I started with like Zeppelin, The Doors, Jim Croce, Janis Joplin, Chris Christopherson, and then I found
not country. You're like
not really, not at all. Old, Zeppelin,
rock and roll kind of
a lot of rock and roll. But then I found Bruce Springsteen, and Bruce his music is what led me towards country, because I felt like he was kind of a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, he had a lot of this rock and roll overtone, but the stories were
very story.
It was a story, right? There was something to tell, and then I started getting into Cash and Merle Haggard and Willie, and I started kind of figuring out that, man, here's this Springsteen guy that's putting all this music together in a big old melting pot, and I was really impressed.
Which Springsteen album? Was there one where you're like, I remember listening to it?
Well, I mean, Thunder Road led me to Born in the USA. What was that album? Was it Born in the USA? That was
it was named
anyway. It's all song driven for me, so I really don't distinguish. But then I started. I heard a ton of love, and I just started hearing all these things that all kind of went together so well. And I was like, okay, I need to not only learn how to play guitar, but I need to learn how to play guitar and sing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think that's probably the bigger challenge.
And you're in high school and you sort of have this thought, or you're in college?
Right, freshman year in college.
Okay.
I was like, man, I got to have all of this together.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Born in the USA came out, I want to say my senior year in high school. But all that was happening. I think from that point on, there was not a piece of music or kind of music that I didn't want to listen to.
You got hooked. You got obsessed.
I mean, it didn't really matter.
And so you're listening and getting into it. And then you're also like, I'm going into the basement and I'm singing and playing. Were you writing, or were you just practicing people's songs?
I started writing in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
93. With Corey Morrow. Okay, so a junior year in college, a friend of mine, David Henry, a few of them, David Henry and Paige Blanton and Brian Zentgraf, we were all sitting at the same party, and I was playing some songs out on the back porch. I'm sure it was playing Road Goes On Forever and, Pissing in the Wind, whatever it is I was playing. And they said, there's a guy named Corey Morrow from Houston that you got to meet. And the first time I met him, I was like, he's kind of cocky, but then again, I was like, okay, you're kind of cocky too. So, but
two cocky guys meet.
It was like a battery, but we started doing every Wednesday night. After I did the music for the All Greek Bible study, we'd go over to David's apartment, me and Corey, and I don't know, drink half a gallon of whiskey and 2 cases of beer and play country songs. Just, we didn't even know what we were going to do. Right. David had this huge collection of CDs. And so we just throw one in. There's a Don Williams. All right. Yeah. Lord, I wish this day was good. We would, it was magic, right? It was truly the best. It's the thing in life for me that I only got one of those, and I'm really lucky.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
I got one set of really great friends. I mean, we were I don't know, we were just really, really tight.
And you were just was just fun.
David Henry, Brian Zentgraf, Corey Morrow, Paige Blanton, and a handful of others. Man, we were there every Wednesday night until the sun came up. We did not go to Thursday class.
And there's no ambition. It's like, we're just having fun.
Yes.
Just sucking the joy out of this.
And so
thing.
David finally got tired of it. Because
So was Corey was going to school there too?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
He's from Houston, but he was going.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we were all in school at Tech. And, so David got tired of us trashing his house on Wednesday nights. I mean, because we were definitely smoking indoors. Oh God. Anyway, and so he got us a gig at a place called Bash Rip Rocks, and first time we played there, we charged $5 a head. We rented a PA for like $100.
Call all your friends.
Yeah, exactly. That was it, and it was sold it's only 200 people, but it's sold out.
Yeah.
Hey, okay. We did it again the next week.
And it's not really about y'all. It's like, these are just my friends, and this is they're just coming to be
We did the exact same show the next week, and it was a little bit less, but it was enough for us to know that something was going
And
on.
were any of your friends like, you got a good voice? Like, were people affirming you, or
No.
literally you're?
No, and honestly, I really hadn't. I don't think that I had explored my voice until like the third record. I mean, I knew I could sing.
Mm-hmm.
I could sing that's the hardest thing. Everybody, here's a CD of my daughter. Tell me if she has a chance. And I was like, well, can she sing in tune? And like, oh, she sings great. I'm like, can she sing in tune?
Yeah.
Can he sing in tune? Whoever it is. But I knew he could sing in tune, but I didn't really learn my voice until probably 3 days, like my fifth record or so, where I really started. Well, I didn't do it myself. Somebody, my producer at the time, Greg Ladani, pushed me out of my comfort zone and made me sing a lot higher register and with a lot more authority. And that's when
you felt like that's when I
just heard those notes coming out. I was really surprised.
You didn't know you could do it.
Yeah.
But people were, I mean, you were already having success way before then. I mean, people were into what you're doing and coming to shows, and because you're doing the Willie Nelson stuff then, and people are freaking out.
Yeah.
So what were they like? What do you think was sort of the magic? Was it just because you were fun? Like I
don't know. It's the thing. It's the X. I don't know.
You don't think you can articulate it?
There's no chance. But that's the beauty of connecting with people. Honestly, I think it's about vulnerability. Mm-hmm. I mean, charisma certainly factors in, but there's an intangible there. If you're willing to put yourself out there, and
there's a vulnerability with it,
right? Yeah. And be so incredibly true to yourself.
Yeah,
I mean, and show people the insanity that lives in your head. If you can do that, like I didn't have moves like Elvis, but I was moving.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't just standing there.
Yeah.
And people who just stood there kind of bothered me. And,
yeah.
Not bothered me like I didn't appreciate their music. It's just like, man, come on, give me a show.
You're missing out on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can, if I want to hear you just sing the songs, then I'd listen to the radio.
Yeah.
But so there was a lot more stuff. I say the most outlandish things and embarrasses my family to no end.
Which is, I think, probably some of the success, but like, cause it's honest. It's like, I remember like the first time I had a friend was like, hey, you got to listen to this guy, Pat Green. He had like the Live at Billy Bob's CD, and he went to the song. We were like, something about Marilyn Manson is a freak, and I believe
he was a freak.
But we were just like, but it was like, he's just, there was something about the rawness and the crazy
record. That record, I still laugh at. It still feels so sophomoric when I listen to it, but the success is undeniable. That record sold more than any other Live at Billy Bob's record ever.
And it was, so I had Pam Minnick on recently, and she was like that. I think they were doing it for Merle Haggard, and they were like, we should probably test this with somebody else.
Exactly. I was the guinea pig, which I appreciate. I greatly
like
appreciate
the dress rehearsal, and it went on the. But to your point, you're saying this stuff, and I don't know if my assumption is like you're just being you. You're being honest. I'm like just coming out, and I'm not holding back. Which like Springsteen never held back. He just goes for it.
But I've paid the price for that too.
Okay, elaborate on that. What do you?
No, I'm just saying I've irritated some people.
Paid the price of when you took it too far.
Yeah, I've irritated some people, and I've also made people think less of me, and I've drank too much, and I've done so many outlandish things that all I have to do is once again be true to who I am and say, man,
learn from it.
Yeah, learn. Maybe that wasn't some of the best moments, but I don't know. My life is an experience to me. It's not one thing or the other. And so, yeah, man, I've missed but I'll challenge anybody out there to say that they've never. Have you never missed?
Oh yeah, no.
Right. So I don't.
Well, you're not taking risks if like.
There
are people who never
gone
missed 'cause
too
they
far.
haven't. Yeah.
I've gone too far in my life many times, and it's cost me. But at the same time,
it's also like the secret to your
man,
success.
my life has been. I have had every dream I ever dreamed come true 1,000 times over.
Mm-hmm. Did you imagine this would? Was there like
no refunds?
was you mentioned like watching your dad and you're like I would love to do that. Like, was there like this is an ambition I have, like this success, or was there like, are you like a goal person?
Okay, so I missed out on that opportunity when you asked that question earlier, because you did ask that. When I was a kid playing my tennis racket guitar in front of the big mirror in my bedroom, I was not thinking about the coffee house at all. I wasn't thinking about being eclectic and poignant and culturally impactful.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I want these assholes to have a few beers, smile their faces off, and go home in a great mood. That's my job. I want to be, if Jimmy Buffett had a kid with Bruce Springsteen and Willie Nelson, that's right. Yeah. And I laugh about it a lot. I always tell folks on stage, and my mom hates this joke, but I'm always like, I don't know if Willie Nelson or Jimmy Buffett's my dad, but but it's one of them. But I'm so tall, it could be Jerry Jeff.
Yeah. Did you play with Jimmy Buffett at all?
Yeah. Yeah, he's great. He's a funny guy. He knows the product that he has is so strong.
Oh, and he has his tribe. He tapped into a niche.
I'm just saying this. Every restaurant in the world sells margaritas. Every restaurant, say this with me, in the world sells margaritas.
Yeah.
His brand, Margaritaville. Everybody goes out to restaurants.
Yeah.
And drinks margaritas. I'm just saying, he's brilliant. Brilliant. And he landed on that. And who doesn't love beaches?
Yeah, this beach, it's a niche. It's like the riches are found in the niches. It's like he found this thing
he
that
didn't found it. He did not found it. He was like, oh, that was good. Like, that's the way Wave on Wave and all these other songs in my life ever happened. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, that. I'm pretty sure that's gonna work. And then you just, once you find something that you really think is gonna work, you go, okay, how much gas can I pour on this thing?
Yeah. And songs are like that. Like I mentioned I'm listening to the Keith Richards autobiography, and he's talking about some of these Stone songs like came to him in his sleep. He just picks up the guitar and he's like, I almost didn't write it. It just came out. And when I came out, I was like, oh, that.
It's the shallow end of sleep, I call it.
The
shallow end, when you're right about to fall awake.
In a melody.
You're not about to fall asleep. When you're about to fall awake. That little bit, that really kind of unconscious bit that lives in there is so... It's really your dreams. It's your brain taking over. When you're not there, right? And so you hear these things and you see these things. And if you've been doing it for 20 and 30 years, like we have, the things that you hear, you recognize it.
You're attuned to it.
Yeah, you recognize it. You're like, hold on, just don't wake up yet.
Yeah, don't go away.
Don't wake up. Just stay right here, and then.
And if you don't catch it, it goes away.
Yeah, but I've had an awful lot of them that have. Was
Wave on Wave one of those that kind of?
No, Wave on Wave was right before I went to bed.
And some are a struggle.
It was late at night. Plenty of them or take years and years to develop. But no, Wave on Wave was really, really quick. We were on a drive out to Athens, Georgia, to do a show at the Georgia Theater. The bus broke down in Birmingham. We were in a Walmart parking lot and we were just drinking. And I went back in the back and started playing my guitar, and I came up with the chorus, and two guys that were still left awake were David Newhouser and Justin Pollard, and two very incredibly talented musicians in their own right, And I said, guys, this is a big one. Do you want to help me write it? And they're like, yeah, whatever, sure. We all kind of, I was confident, but it really didn't matter. It was just whatever it was, but it turned out to be the biggest hit I ever had.
Yeah. So
thank God those guys were awake.
Come help me with this. Can you take me back? We started talking about it, but you got those breaks with those guys, and then people started coming to shows and buying, and you made the album with Lloyd Maines and people.
We did 5.
That's a lot.
Lloyd Maines. Yeah.
So it's at some point like it started to snowball, and then it went like.
I can point at it.
When was that?
1998. We put out Cannonball. Okay. Not Cannonball. We put Carry On. Cannonball is way later. I'm sorry. It starts with a C. And both of them 2 syllables. We put out Carry On. I had written Carry On with Walt Wilkins. It was the first song I'd ever written with a professional songwriter.
Mm-hmm. I
had a cool little riff that I had snaked from somebody else. And anyway, we wrote what I thought was the first really, really good song.
You're like,
I was kind of the cornerstone.
Proud of this song.
Yeah, I was like, this is good enough for anybody.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And that was when I called Lloyd and I said, Lloyd, I want to spend some money. I want to get marketing behind it. I want to spend, because I always thought that, when I started playing, I knew that like 30% of all the country music bought in the United States was bought in Texas. And that's a huge number. Consider the volume of the entire U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the country music bought, 30% was in Texas. So I knew if I could get big in Texas, then when it was time for me to sign a record deal, New York, L.A., or Nashville, I would have the ability to write my own ticket.
So you were that strategic about it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Without a doubt. I was like, there's no way I'm going to drive to Nashville with no songs under my belt, with no recordings under my belt, and just say, hey, man, my name's Pat.
So you hadn't pursued a record deal
ever
at that point. Did you have a manager, or were you doing?
Well, certainly by the time we got to the 5th record, yes. Management for me started with Greg Henry after the second record came out. A friend of mine, Greg Henry, from in Waco, where we were living at the time. He was like, "Man, you need to sell T-shirts." And I'm like, "I can't afford it." He goes, "I got a credit card." I mean, that's literally how my first management deal happened. And
I got a credit card.
Yeah, and so he'd buy the T-shirts, and then I'd end up giving them all away. Because I was drunk somewhere singing and giving them out to these girls and whatnot. As you do. And anyway, so he said, "Okay, we're not going to do this anymore. Where you giving away? I'm going to buy the T-shirts, but I'm going to come with you, and you're going to."
I'm gonna sell them. I'm gonna sell them for you,
right? And anyway, we worked out the money side of things, and then I didn't know what the industry standard was by any stretch, but I was like, man, if you can get me, more than $1,000 a gig, I'll give you X, and it started.
It became your manager.
It started, and then we started. I mean, we were doing 10, 15 gigs a month. And sending out mailers on postcards, and like where we'd literally have to lick the stamp. Is that how you were promoting stuff? We didn't have the internet. There was no internet.
So who were you mailing them to?
People that signed up on the mailing list.
Okay, so you would have a mailing list.
So we'd sell T-shirts, and they'd sign up on the mailing list to know when Pat Green's playing.
Physical address, because there's no email.
There was no such thing as email.
And so you're hand mailing.
There was no email. There was no internet.
You're hand mailing postcards to people about your shows.
Yeah, we got to about 3,000 or 4,000 people a month. Every month we'd sit there for a couple of days to.
And you're hand addressing them, like your
No. We did have a printer. Thank God we had a printer, but we did have to take them off the sticky sheet and stick them on.
Yeah. And it's hard, like drunk people at bars writing their information down. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to decipher.
We'd get half of them back.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that worked that worked. Yeah, and there was a lot of Jack Me Hoffs and bendovers, and right. Anyway,
So you're playing 15 gigs a month, and you're
and
mailing these postcards,
and we put a lot. We would announce our private shows, but it would have the private in parentheses, which meant basically that we were playing at some guy's birthday party, and we had music in the backyard. But what we tried to do is create an image of, hey, this is a working band, and anyway, so Greg, sorry, just whacked your microphone. Greg, Henry, and I it started out, and then after George's Bar, and it grew and grew, and when it started growing to right before Carry On, the Wolf in Dallas and Y100 in Houston started having Texas radio shows.
These like hour-long
segment on Sunday night, if you're driving down the road, you trip. Then Carry On came out, which was the last one I was kind of, Lloyd Baines produced it, but I was self-producing the record. And I hired a marketing company out of Austin to really...
You were like, I want to promote this.
I think this is going to work, because the gravity was starting to work. People were drawn. I mean, it was starting to happen in full force. Anyway, then Carry On happened, and it got on the radio.
Did you hire a radio promoter, or just organically someone was started?
Basically, that Austin group had some ends, and we could. That was still back when you could pay people off a little bit, right? In radio, before Elliot Spitzer ruined it for us. But anyway, we could buy some spins, but it started having so much momentum that every major radio station in Texas latched on to Carry On. And
we're playing it not in the Texas,
just started playing it full tilt.
Okay.
Right. So the most you'd ever want to get out of a big single from a major record label was around 35, 40 spins a week. And we were getting up to around 20.
Wow. And that had never happened before. No one else had ever independently.
No, not even close. And
was it because the song was so good, or because it was so strategic, or it was people were calling? I just think
we were, like I said, right place,
right time. Were you
calling
radio stations?
Of course I was. Yeah. I'm shameless self-promoter. Oh my God. One time we went on, during that time, me and Greg, a concert promoter flew us over to New Zealand to play a bunch of shows with the Amazing Rhythm Aces, the Finn Brothers, Cowboy Junkies. It was huge. Great tour. Anyway, so we woke up the second morning after our, jet lag had gone away, and we started calling Texas radio stations during the 8 o'clock hour saying, hey, Greg would call, and say, hey, this is Greg Henry, Pat Green's manager. We've got Pat available. He's in New Zealand spreading Texas music. Would you like to talk to him?
Are you a small business owner or an entrepreneur? Do you do marketing for a small business? If so, I have something that I want to give you, and it's totally for free. We've put together a free resource at 6appstorytelling.com/download. And it's the secrets, it's the tips, it's the tricks, it's the tools of the trade. It's literally everything we do at 6app Storytelling to help small businesses grow. Go download it today at 6appstorytelling.com/download. This episode is sponsored in part by Pre-Kindle, the platform designed to empower event creators to develop the best experiences possible for their communities. Did you know that Pre-Kindle was actually founded in DFW and is still headquarters in Dallas? Well, now you do. We love local businesses, and Pre-Kindle is one of the best. With a best-in-class platform of features, no long-term contracts, low service fees, responsive mobile-friendly event pages, and friendly and attentive support, Pre-Kindle is my personal favorite ticketing and marketing platform for any event. Anytime I'm planning something with my band, Green River Ordinance, Pre-Kindle is our go-to platform to use. With an impressive roster of event creators, venues, and entertainment destinations across the nation, Pre-Kindle's hands down the best. In DFW alone, they've partnered with incredible incredible spaces like the Granada Theater, Panther Island Pavilion, the Kessler, Will Rogers Coliseum, the Fort Worth Modern, Tulips, Grizzly Theater, and more. If you have been to an event or venue in DFW, I promise you have likely been using Pre-Kindle and you didn't even know it. Beyond ticketing, Pre-Kindle also helps automatically promote your event. With over 500,000 subscribers in North Texas and partnerships with event discovery sites like Bands in Town, Spotify, Google, they're set up to also help you spread the word. So go to prekindle.com, that's PREKINDLE.com, and click Get Started to begin using the platform. They are on a mission to bring your event to life. This episode of Stories with Soul is sponsored in part by Power Biofarms. As we all strive to become better versions of ourselves, sometimes the effort to be more active and less stressed can leave you feeling more exhausted than ever before. From unwanted prescription side effects to injuries that won't fully heal, many Texans are left feeling frustrated and without hope or restoration. Power Biofarms provides high-quality, Texas-made CBD and cannabis wellness products without chemicals, solvents, or pricey prescriptions. It's all made right here in DFW, from seed to shelf, with the utmost care, quality, and transparency. I had the privilege of getting to work with Colt Power, the founder of Power Biofarms, earlier this year when 6th Avenue Storytelling got to help them unpack their language and dive into their brand, and it was crazy cool. Their story is impactful, and they're doing some beautiful things. They offer a wide variety of craft products, and yes, it's all 100% legal for adults and incredibly safe. Support this local and growing business by starting your order at powerbiofarms.com. That's POWERBIOPHARMS.com. Oh, so it was a hype. It was this image.
We were just totally hyping
bigger than life image. He's touring Europe right now.
Exactly. Yeah. We're in New Zealand, for Christ's sake. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I'm not saying we're full of shit, but we kind of were and having fun doing it. You know?
It's kind of going back to the
it was great,
the hustle a little bit, but it's also I think maybe people know this about you, but I think what's interesting. We have some mutual friends, and it's like you are not just an entertainer, but a businessman. You're like very business savvy and are thinking of like it doesn't this type of blowing up overnight success. It's not like doesn't happen on accident, and it doesn't have like there's an element of the song has to be really freaking good.
Well, either you have to do it for yourself, or you have to get a record label to do it for you.
Yeah. But you were kind of leading the ship on this.
I wanted to do that. I wanted to go the other way around. I wanted to get my stuff together before I got a record label to put me out.
And no
there.
one had called you and said, "Hey, we want to offer you."
Not one. And then
that's bonkers.
We did our first Northeast run.
Mm-hmm.
We went up and played, and we were playing in DC, and it was sold out, and it was.
And that was the first time you like out of Texas. People are coming to my shows. This is
Well, no, Anyway, what I'm getting at is that night we had it was about that time we had a tour bus, and we were making. It was a real going tax paying business. And people call it showbiz because nobody wants to think of it as business. It's. Mm-hmm. It really, really is, and I didn't want this to be my hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we're in DC. We just come from New York, and Monty and Avery Lippman rode the train down from New York. They were the
heads of
Universal. And after the show, they came on the bus, and they were like, "Hey, man, great show, blah, 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 blah." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Please don't tell me you're going to make me rich and famous."
You said that to them?
I do remember that being the line, right? And I said, "Just make this thing work, make it bigger, make it better." And
so you wanted it bigger.
I love that the first deal came from New York. I was so glad it wasn't from Nashville, where I felt like I was scared that if I went to Nashville, that somebody'd stick a cowboy hat on me and make me wear a belt buckle and all this stuff. At that time, I didn't wear shoes. I mean, now I'm a little bit more kind of. I'm older, and I wear boots, and I do wear I wear hats and stuff like that. But back then, I was just I had long hair, and I had no shoes, and
was it like non-conformity, like, or a chip on your shoulder?
I just didn't want to
like...
be. I didn't want to be. Well, I just didn't want to be Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be anybody else. I wanted to be what I was, and so I signed that deal. I mean, I would literally within 2 weeks, I'd signed that deal with them, and then they walked me into the doors of EMI, and I sold all my publishing to EMI. So I sold out. But I mean, I sold everything at a very young age, and it's still.
How old were you?
Well, so that was 2000. I was almost 30.
Okay,
it's like 29. I was 29. Had to be, yep. And so, but I was fine. I was like, ooh, this machine is going to take it and run with the ball. And I mean, the proof's in the pudding. 3 days came out. It went number 2. The next record.
And they reissued that they reissued like
3 days was 3 days the song, which had never been released, and about 5 other never been released songs, and about 5 from my previous catalog. Take Me Out to a Dance, Carry On, yada yada. That ended up being, because they were in that package, became really big songs. So that record went number 2. We had a couple of big hits, a couple of Grammy nominations. And then Wave on Wave comes out. That record goes number 2. The single goes top of the chart. Blah blah blah. It was. I was like, it played out exactly how I thought.
Do you feel like you engineered it that way?
Well,
was it like?
I mean,
was it luck, or was it like?
I certainly tried. That was certainly the idea.
Yeah, and
but seeing it happen, I was still really kind of, I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah. And were you married then? Yeah. When did
Corey and I got married in 2000, June 10th, 2000.
Okay.
And that's what, to me, that's another really happy, lucky part of my life, is that I've gotten to write all these songs about the same person, right? I mean, going back all the way back, right? Now, there's a couple in there that I didn't write about her, but I don't sing them and she doesn't like them. So it's kind of a mutual thing. But yeah, the experience of going down the road of life, especially in music, which is such a difficult thing to try to get on top of, and stay married. And, I'm not going to say by any stretch that I'm sane. I'm cuckoo, but but
in normal world, staying married that long and being with one person is rare.
Yeah, exactly.
In music world, where you're gone 200 days a year,
and you're drunk and you're stupid and you're I mean, all those things. 22 years of marriage so far is working really well for me.
That's incredible. And I feel like and I don't know like the history of all of it, and we all have our ups and downs, but I do think as an outside spectator, y'all have a really special relationship. Like you dote on her.
I do, and she really doesn't. She's kind of tired of me talking her up, but I don't really give a shit. I love her.
Did you have to learn how to do that, or was it like
No, I truly. I mean, I'm addicted to her. I have a very strong, I don't know how else to put it, but my personality, when I'm drawn to something,
you go all in. You're intense. Yeah, you're an intense person.
I am. There's no doubt. And, but I'm fascinated by her. I think she's smarter than I am. I think, she's just a knockout, but,
was there things, can you give me a little relationship advice, in that, because there's because the hard thing about touring, especially back then when all you had was a phone, it's so one dimensional. You get in a fight and you can't, hey, I'm gonna put your arm around her and be like, it's okay. We didn't have
cell phones when we got together. Right, it was payphones and hotel rooms.
It teaches you how to communicate better, but it's freaking hard.
Well, I don't know if it better is the right word. I don't know. She's small town West Texas. I'm small town Central Texas, and she comes from a very together family. Like,
Okay.
they you know, just they're into each other's world. And I come from, my folks got split up, got remarried. Instead of having just me and my brother, now there's 10 kids, right? So, I don't know. We come from these kind of opposite spectrums within family world, but she, I don't know, she brings me back to reality, right? And she's stronger than I am, and I think the older you get, the more tempered you get.
Your edges get smooth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Riverstone, right? I mean, it's not all the time, but I can tell you the last couple of years have been better than the 2 years before that, than the 2 years before that, than the 2 years before that.
Yeah.
I'm just starting now at 50 to understand that, man, it doesn't have to be a struggle to be married. It doesn't have to be intense. It can be just a couple of people living in the same house.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I love being a spectator in it. Just on online, I'm like, it's encouraging. It's like this is how it's meant to be.
Well, it's working.
So y'all were together. So you get signed this.
She was 19 when we got together. So and I was 21.
And I'm sure her parents were like, "This."
Oh, dude, those stories
musician.
are fantastic. I told her, I was standing next to her dad at a urinal, like one of the first times I ever met him, and I told him, I'm not going to take your daughter out of college to marry her. Like, I can't think of a dumber thing to say. He looks just like Wyatt Earp, right? And he's a cattle rancher, and he works for Texas Tech, and he is the toughest hombre you have ever seen in your life. And I'm standing next to it at a urinal telling him about marrying his daughter and not, blah, blah, blah. And we'd only been dating for like a month or two.
And that's the time
I'm good. Yeah. I mean, he didn't say a word. He just kind of looked at me with that mean old mustache and just walked away. Didn't say a word. So yeah, I'm lucky to have survived that night.
So you sign the record deal, it starts to blow up, and that's when, and then you were really strategic with merchandise. I mean,
sure.
I remember I was in high school around that time.
Nothing sells Texas like Texas.
Oh, like
we love us.
Every car in the parking lot had I don't think that exists anymore. Like no one's like, here's putting my favorite band on my, literally every car in our high school parking lot had a Pat Green sticker. It was like this, and it was this Texas.
Making me feel old, but thank you.
It was a Texas pride.
Thank you for buying my sticker. Man, we sold a million of those things.
And you would
I took that from Elvis.
A semi full of merch pull up at you were selling a lot of merch.
No, dude, we sold everything we could. I mean, I'm serious. Elvis was the greatest self-promoter. But yeah, if we could put my name and logo on anything, like baby clothes, panties, serious like panties, and then risque panties, and then I'm like anything, boxers, t-shirts, hats, koozies, coolers.
And how hands-on are you like in the business?
Back then, I was.
Are you just like I'm just singing songs, or were you like I'm tracking, I'm counting,
No, I'm still really hands-on. I still know where everything is. I still know where we stand.
Had you always been drawn to the business, like to business?
I mean, I just thought and had heard all my life that people in the music business, the bands, the artists, whatever, they get screwed because people will take money, and they will. Yeah, I'm not kidding. It doesn't matter if you're in this business. Or,
I had it happen to me.
I'm just saying, it doesn't matter what business you're in. If there's money laying around and nobody's looking, even the best guy will falter and take your money. Yeah. So no, I mean, every single month of my life, I go in and I look at every number that we have, and I make a model of, and I make projections, and I've been doing that forever. But
did you learn that in college, or?
I learned that the first time I got audited.
You got it. Okay.
I've been audited 5 times.
Nuh-uh.
Well, because we have it's a very cash-heavy business.
You got a big target, target on your back.
Yeah, not so much now. There's not as much cash in music as it used to be. Like, people would pay $15, $25 at the door, and you'd get a giant stack of bills when you're walking out. That doesn't happen anymore. People
don't even have cash anymore.
Yeah, no, it's just they push a computer button, they zip it to you. But when I first got audited, we lost $5,000 to the improper accounting. And I was like, well, okay, that's not that big a deal, but I don't ever want to do it again. And they're always going to find something, by the way, if you ever get audited. If you're out there getting audited, it's okay.
Yeah, I would assume 5,000 is not.
It wasn't a big deal, but it was always lower than that in the subsequent ones. And so from that point on, I got very serious about not only accounting, but where the money was going.
Mm-hmm. And
didn't do it right all the way, but
your dad was in finance?
My dad is still. He's a money manager. He has his own company. He was with Merrill for 30 years, and then he went with some other companies, and then kind of decided, hey, I want to do it on my own. So he has a really, really good sized company. And
did you learn about that? Like, were you interested in that world?
Yeah, absolutely. I still love that world, and he invests all my money, and not all of it. I shouldn't say that, but he invests a lot.
And so you're accounting. You're like, I'm checking everything that's coming in and out, and you're also driving like the strategy of what we're going to sell. How do we monetize it? How do we sell more? Let's every
possible angle that I can get my hands on.
But I would say that is rare in music world. Like, most musicians' brains literally do, like, I don't mean to sound condescending, but like, don't think that way.
But that's why I haven't put a record out in 7 years. I think it's kind of give and take. Like, I've just never been a prolific. I have never just completely sold my soul to writing songs every day and exploring my personal life and I just don't do it that way. Mm-hmm. I'm good at that, and I'm good at telling the truth that lives inside of me. I'm good at telling you exactly how I feel, but I don't do it every day.
Yeah,
I do it when it kind of piles up on me, and when I get kind of that's when it explodes out of me. So. And that's kind of how I feel like right now. There's a lot of pressure with this new record coming out.
You think so?
Well, no, it's just when I say pressure, I mean,
you got to internalize.
There's a lot of stuff I got to do. And and I'm exploring all these emotions that I, put out on this record. And so,
walk me through, unpack that a little bit more. Pressure. You feel like I have a lot to say, or pressure like people are going to judge it?
There's a lot of people that have put a lot of effort into this project.
And is this a different?
And so I owe them the respect of.
Is this a different kind of project for you?
I mean, I don't know. It's very much like the last one, Home, in that it's very straightforward. It's very much a gutting of myself at the moment that we recorded it. It was going through COVID. I was depressed. I was out on a limb, like in a Dr. Seuss book. I mean, literally, and it was cracking, right? And so I'm writing these songs like about that person
cracking because of
the weight of my soul. Because Jesus,
was there like other stuff going on, or I'm just lonely and I'm tired?
Well, I was lonely and I was out of work and I didn't know how long this was going to last. And every like you were saying, I mean, business is a big deal to me, and keeping my band afloat and keeping those guys' families.
Yeah, you have all these people that depend on you.
Yes, and so, man, I drank so much. God, I tried to kill myself, I think, and and I'd been fighting that for years before that too. It wasn't like that was something new, but.
So is AA and sober, is that a new thing, or is
gosh, no, we started down that path 5 years ago. Okay. Now, I'm not saying we've been on that path the whole time, because that would be dishonest, but that definitely sobriety I know is the only path. for me.
There's that awareness.
It's the only
now.
workable path for me, and
workable to flourishing.
Yeah, to making my world be okay, and so I have to give that a lot of effort. And man, I'm like man, anybody that is on that endeavor or in that endeavor knows that it's a difficult thing, and you're not always going to get it right.
Yeah,
but if you're really dedicated and in love with the new person, then it's a lot easier.
Yeah. So COVID was hard.
COVID was a wreck.
Kicked your butt. And this is did you hit a point and you're like,
oh gosh, yeah. Oh,
talking about
an awful point. And then,
but this is coming out of that.
Quite a bit of it.
So
yeah.
And this is
a lot of writing coming out of that. Just trying to how to, give you enough vulnerable of a picture of me. And at the same time show you that, man, the rest of my life is still quite normal. You think it builds you a bar, man. My wife is the funnest little drunk girl you ever see in your life. I'm not kidding. She makes you laugh. And so I had to paint the picture of my life in total, so there's songs that are about my family. There's songs about her. Steady.
That's a great song.
That's exactly how I feel about her. Right. Yeah. Without it, I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Bad Bones is a very strong description of that tumultuous interior fight that lives inside of me. I'm going home, man. If you can find a more accurate picture of my life as it was right there when I was writing that song, there's not. That's exactly how I felt about me right then.
So are you nervous about releasing this?
I'm not. No. But see, that's the thing. I mean, going back to, honestly, I would say between Carry On and 3 Days was when I learned that if I tell my truth, if I tell the truth, if I say exactly what's going on, the songs are if I'm vulnerable, people get it. If I'm slicking it up and honky tonking it,
yeah.
I mean, I don't mind saying the word honky tonk in a song. I'm just saying, if I'm,
yeah, and I think
if I'm not being true,
yeah, and I think that's why there's an authenticity about those songs that were huge, and about like that was I'm not, and I think that's probably your like, Rebellion Against Nashville was like, it feels so, some of it is so contrived. And I think why people were like, this guy is different. This is a different, because it's authentic, it's honest, and it's not, there's not like a formula you're pitching.
I think that's, you look at guys that I've toured with, and I've really enjoyed those guys. You look at Keith Urban and Dave Matthews and Kenny Chesney. And
Dave Matthews just did his own crazy thing.
That's what I'm saying. But if you think about those three artists in particular, their songs are brand oriented. Not every song, but you can, when you hear it, you go, oh, that's a Kenny.
Yeah.
And when you hear it, oh, that's a Keith.
Yeah.
When you hear it, it's a Dave. And when I look at my music, that is certainly not, I mean, I am the biggest fan of those guys. God loved those guys. I mean, huge stars. But when I think about my music and you look at the records that I make, they don't, I don't make anything that sounds like the other thing. Right. I mean, there's a couple of the GCDs, which was what I call like Texas Sun, Take Me Out to a Dance Hall. Wrapped. I mean, there's a few of those 3/4 that you can really kind of go, oh yeah, those are very similar, but there's a lot of really, the texture songs, the deep tracks are very, very fun for me to listen to. I still enjoy listening to my deep tracks.
Do you have a song you're like, I'm most proud of this?
Carry On, without a doubt, is still my favorite song, not only to play, but no, the deep, like especially like on this record, Bad Bones and Born on April 5th, they're great. And I could go back through In It for the Money. I could go through all of these songs, Good Night in New Orleans. And back in there, I'm just like, those, if you really want to know what I think about.
So would you say that like these like the past couple of years, COVID, was that like the hardest thing you had gone through? Had you had any other this hard seasons or seasons where you learned a lot?
Well, certainly I think everybody has their trials in life. Yeah. I'll tell you, one of the hardest things for any band to go through is reaching a pinnacle. 2003, okay,
was like, this is
almost
the top.
20 years ago. Wave on Wave was a crossover hit. It was everywhere.
You're going to the Grammys.
Oh gosh, yeah, I'd been to Grammys bunch, and we had commercials running during the Super Bowl, during the last episode of Friends. We were, we were at Miller Lite at the time. That's when those commercials came about. But on the biggest tours in the world until 2000 and
like Dave Matthews Band in 2003 was that when it was 2000?
With Dave Matthews was 2005.
But that's like at the height.
But I mean, like Kenny, the 2 years that we were on with Kenny, the tour was bigger. It was the biggest tour in the world as far as volume.
Were you doing like stadiums?
Stadiums, and we were. Yeah, it was bigger than the U2 tours, Wow. And I was like, I got to be a part of something that was way bigger than myself. And obviously Kenny was this mega star. And, but Keith, I got to be all that for basically from 2002 until 2010 or so. We were on the top of the top. And then that just like every other band on the planet, it has to. Yeah. I mean, unless you're one of the guys, unless you're George Strait or Kenny or Willie Nelson or whoever, it eventually it starts to get down into a level where it levels off, and it's not a bad thing. I'm still doing 100 days a year on the road, having a wonderful, second half of my career.
Yeah. Thousands of people show up.
And thousands and oh my gosh, yeah.
But it's a different beast than being in a
it's different than it's it's different than selling out the Astrodome. Okay?
Yeah. Was there a moment like I have a couple of days where I'm like we peaked last night. It doesn't get any better or bigger than that.
Man, Red Rocks, the Garden.
We're like, it could be done. I can tell my kids about this.
Man, yeah. I mean, I've dreamed, every dream that I've ever dreamed has come true. And, that tennis racket guitar when I was playing in the stadium actually happened. Right. So but that is difficult. That is difficult. That transition from 2 tour buses and 18-wheelers and airplanes and all that stuff.
To back in a bus.
Yeah. And you got a trailer.
And all the bands are in the bus.
Yeah, everybody's in there with you. Yeah. I didn't have my own bus anymore. But
did you have identity issues?
I think I'm happier now. I think I know a lot more about myself now.
Yeah.
I think I know what a challenge looks like, and I know how to face it. Whatever it might be. My children are almost grown. My son Kellis is going to UT. Just dropped him off last week.
Wow.
My daughter Rainey.
Were tears shed?
Oh my God. I mean, it was 2 weeks of emotional train wreck.
Yeah.
My daughter started her sophomore year in college today. Sophomore year in high school today. Did I say college? Jesus.
She's about to drive, huh?
She's driving.
Oh, she's
already driving. We held them both back a year, so they're both a year older. We wanted them to be the older ones in the class as opposed to the younger. So yeah, she's driving. Has been driving. I taught her how to drive, which I don't know because
how'd you do with that?
I did fine. I think. Yeah, she's a good driver. During COVID, there were no instructors. Nobody would take the job to teach kids because you had to be in the car with these 3 little, microbial like petri dishes. Yeah. And so I taught her how to drive, and she had to do some driving hours with a certified instructor, but for the most part, I'm pretty proud of that. But
it's a different season. It's now.
Now
it's kind of legacy. It's like these kids.
These kids are a lot like their mother.
Okay. What does that mean?
Wonderful. Well, because I mean, honestly, like with my daughter, she was born in 2006. I was on the road with Kenny, and she was born June 10th. I came home for 2 weeks. I missed one weekend's worth of the show, but I left that year in April, and I came home at the end of September.
Wow, you had her in the middle of.
Well, I didn't. My wife did.
Yeah, but that's a.
But you don't take a brand new baby out on the road.
Yeah, but that's a crazy
you
season.
know, it's just so there's what I'm getting at is the music life, if you get to where we got to get, is great, but the sacrifice really is that your family's going to be without you.
Yeah. A yes to that is a no to something else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's a great way to put it. I mean that. Well said. My wife, if she wasn't the strong woman that she is, we would be divorced, and those kids would have little to do with me. But she is fiercely loyal. She is. She's steady. She doesn't.
The song.
She doesn't lose her shit, man. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. Do your fans care if I say shit?
No, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how, but like every episode we have the little E thing on there. I'm like, I guess we cussed at some point in all of them.
Oh, yeah, I cuss a lot.
Did your kids? Did they like think it's cool at all? Like, did they know what you do or did? Or I'm sure now they do. But
I mean, yeah, especially my son going to UT. I mean, certainly. But
does he like it? Does he like your music?
Yeah, they both do.
They do.
But and they both have great taste of music on their own, right? Kellis my son's music is really like my music, like a lot of David Bowie, a lot of Springsteen, a lot of these old bands and Beatles and so forth. And he has a record player, you know. What I'm saying, he's that guy. And my daughter is very, much into what pop is right now, but she listens to country, and she's got a very broad sense of it. But I think, they've been to a ton of my shows. I mean, a ton of them.
Yeah.
And I think my daughter comes mostly to the shows that I do with guys like Parker McCollum and Cole Wetzel. Like if I'm doing that show, she's definitely going to be there. Yeah. But
it's kind of like musicians' kids are kind of like preacher kids. It's like they either love it or they hate it and resent it, or they.
Well, I think that my kids are kind of relatively in the middle. I think they, I don't. I love that my son doesn't play the card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't. He's not trying to get somewhere different because he's my kid.
Yeah.
He's his own guy, and he's super, super. They're both intelligent people. So, anyway, yeah. No, I'm lucky in with my kid endeavors.
Kid endeavors.
Yeah.
That's a good way to describe it. We were talking a little bit outside, but you do a lot of other stuff.
Sure.
And I don't know if people know this. Like you do real estate stuff.
A lot of real estate.
Can you what all do you do? Like, don't you have another company like where you're doing?
Yeah, we have
investing.
We have a few,
buying commercial properties and.
Yep. And I don't want to get into much of the specifics of that, but I think it's important in life. And really, it came. I mean, we had it before COVID, but it came into real focus when COVID came. That my wife and I had to have a position that could benefit us with if music went away.
Because that's a real possibility.
And it didn't go away because I couldn't sing. It didn't go away because
you can't control. You can't play.
There are just things you can't control. Yeah. Now, before that, in 2011, I partnered up with a restaurant group out of Dallas called Free Range Concepts, and we started the Rustic.
Oh, I forgot your part. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you helped start the Rustic. Yeah. Are you still part of the Rustic?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
and the Rustic has crushed it.
Yep, it's doing really good. Doing really well. Good. It's doing good, man. we sell lots of stuff. Sorry, that's awful. Yeah, it's Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and we've just broken ground in Phoenix and Scottsdale.
Wow.
So that's doing fine. And then we have a good partnership with Walgreens or in a different group
where you're finding the spaces and
yeah.
And what are you doing with?
Well, one of my very best friends in the world, Steve Swanson, is connected way up the chain in Chicago. He's from Chicago.
But are you is like Pat Green sitting there analyzing deals and
no, I wouldn't say that I do that. No, what I am doing though is kind of handpicking the deals that we want to be a part of, and then we're part of them.
Yeah,
So,
but that's so interesting. I don't think most people would know that.
Man, but I think it's whatever kind of comes down the pike. I mean, Casey Donahue, that guy.
Does he do a bunch of?
I'm not gonna say he's smarter or better than I am, but he's got the same idea, right? He really works hard on getting out there away from music and just making other things work.
Yeah,
Casey's a brilliant guy. He and his wife Belinda, man, they really know what they're doing. And there's plenty of other guys that I know that I know professional golf. It kind of all starts from where who your group is.
Yeah.
And I got to be friends with Bo Van Pelt, and Bo Van Pelt was telling me about this deal that he's involved in, and that's what kind of is the seed that you plant. That you go, oh, I can do something like that. I won't do that, but I'll do something like that.
I've conquered this one. I think I can apply.
I've done what I can do in music. I don't think that there's a chance that I don't know, whoever the next Dave Matthews that comes along is going to say, hey, let's get that 50-year-old guy to get out here.
No, but in terms of the lessons.
So I kind of done my thing.
But the lessons you have learned, I always tell people, I became a small business owner when I was 20.
Yeah.
I'm on my own. My parents, we'd said, we're dropping out of college to go play music. And it's I'm on my own and I have a business. And it's I learned that was my introduction to entrepreneurship, was at a very early age, and marketing and branding and all,
I call it revenue streaming. That's that's not, I didn't make that up by any stretch, but little trickles coming from a lot of different ways.
Because you got a publishing company, you got a music company, you got a touring company, you got your merchandising company. You got
and then everything kind of comes into the one middle part, and now you can make a living. And if something really bad happens, which it has happened, and that just I don't even know how to say how difficult that was to navigate, but yeah, I don't say we're bulletproof because there's no such thing, but yeah.
But you've taken it and applied it to it at the Rustic. Was that were you I want to open a restaurant, or they come to you?
No, actually, they came to me on that one. They needed a little star power to get the real estate deal done. The real estate deal was the most important part of that. The one in Dallas that's at 75 and Lemon.
And y'all own that? Y'all own the land?
No, we do not.
You don't?
No, that's a lease. But it was such a valuable piece. There was a lot of people vying to use that corner. Space. So it's we won't have it forever. So around that, all these condos are going up 30 stories, right? But that was going to be the last piece where they build another 30-story condo. All right. So everybody's saying, okay, it's going to be at least 10 years till they get to building something on there. We're like, hey, we can build a restaurant there. And, and I just happened to have a relationship with a guy who owned the place, owned the dirt.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And so that was my in, and then.
And you help with some of the concepts and
No, I mean, I help with some of the design on as far as the staging goes and what the entertainment side goes. But no, Kyle and Josh from Free Range Concepts, they are restaurateurs, true restaurateurs. They both grew up. That was going to be their career from day one, and they have lots and lots and lots of other restaurants. They started out at Papacito's with the Papas Company, and then left there to start their own thing, and they're doing very well.
That's a hard industry.
It is, but
if you don't know what you're doing, it's
but if you're a college graduate and then the first thing you do is get into upper management of a major place like
Papa's, like the training mecca.
Yeah, so if you do those two things, it's you've got a leg up.
Yeah, I'm saying from my experience of starting a restaurant, having no idea what I was doing, it was There's a steep,
Restaurants
there's a steep
are
learning,
scary
there's a learning
places.
curve.
The money leaks out from from the sink. It goes away real quick, doesn't it?
Yeah. Any like just lessons you have learned through all this, like, or like just principles I'm taking with me, I'm passing on to my kids now, like just
patience. Patience is the only lesson that's worth learning about anything.
Unpack that for me.
I love that line. Unpack that. Patience, man. It's man, if you're running into the situation, you're probably going to miss on just about every angle. If you walk into it and you don't lose your temper and you don't let impulse take over, and if it's a sticky situation, you're going to be all right. Now, on the other flip side of that is that, impulse and ambition and confidence and all those things kind of factor in for me to a place where I can go, okay, I'm going to get out on such a limb that these people are going to like to watch what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit of, the impetuous side of me that says that that's crazy. But for the most part, when it comes to making the big decisions in life, I've learned that.
You feel like you have done that well. Patience is something you've done well.
I've learned. Well, no, I have not always, but I have learned patience, and I feel like the biggest decisions that I made in a very serious, sober way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Who's going to manage? Who's going to be my agent? Who's going to be my record label? Who's going to handle me day to day? The guys in my band are steadfast and wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
My tour manager, Brad Ewert, is one of the most incredible human beings.
Like you're saying that some of the best decisions you've made,
I made them very seriously.
Yeah, that paid off. You know what's funny?
Yeah.
This was something I was gonna bring up at one point, but I don't know if you remember this, but when I was in high school and had just started Green River Ordinance.
Oh, great!
We met.
Great, yeah.
Do you remember like at Chuck Shear's house?
Well, and was it your mom, right?
Yeah, my mom
was there too.
Yeah, my mom was doing. Yeah, yep. Was there, and I was like,
she does jewelry too. Yeah.
We had just.
So no, I know exactly. I know that day.
But do you remember what you told me?
No, I don't.
Okay, so we had just won this battle of the bands and had made our first CD, and it was terrible. And I was like, we listened to my CD. You listened to it, and you were like, don't. There was like we did put these rain sounds in the intro, and you're like, don't do that. Take out the rain sounds. And it was terrible. But
I don't know.
As a young,
I was probably still overstepping a little bit there.
But as a young 15-year-old, I'm like cocky and proud. And you were very kind and listened to the whole thing. But the one thing that I remember you saying, and I am an ambitious, impatient fellow, and you were like, Jamey, you have so much time. Be patient. Slow down.
Patient is the thing. Isn't
you
it?
told me that like 15, maybe it was 20 years ago.
It's 20.
20 years ago.
Yeah, because Charlie was still living in the house.
And
Charlie's got kids now.
Yeah. Our kids are in like kindergarten.
Are
together.
they really? Okay, so that's exactly the same timing.
Yeah, but you told me patience, and it like, because you were like, you said something to the effect of, you're like, I didn't start playing guitar till I was 23, 20 or something. And I as a 15-year-old, I'm like, oh my god.
Well, 18 I started, but I didn't start playing serious. Yeah.
But that's so funny that 20 years later, patience is still
It works. I mean, it'll always work. It's one of those things like water. It can't, like we were talking about during this last flood that we had here in Fort Worth the last couple of days. Man, it's hard to argue with water. It doesn't listen. Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like it's hard to argue that patience won't serve you. I mean, it just will. But no, I definitely remember that day, and that's a fun memory that you brought up. And that's kind of when Corey started making jewelry. Was that same day? Was that same kind of confluence of time? And now she's got her own business. Yeah. Man. Oh gosh, she doesn't need me.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's better off without me for sure.
Do y'all bond on like you're both driven and have these?
No. No, the answer is no, because I have my own opinions about her business, and she has hers about mine. And it's in the words of Raising Arizona, never the twain shall meet.
Mm-hmm. You're like, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane here.
Yeah, stay in your hula hoop.
Okay, right? In your hula hoop.
It's your hula hoop. You got yours. I got my. But yeah, she works harder than I do. I know that.
And she's crushed it. She has her own.
I'm not kidding, dude. She's better off without me.
And she kind of like going back to the authenticity thing you were talking about earlier, like doing your own,
Honey, I'm not trying to convince you anything.
Finding her own voice, so to speak.
That was important for her all along.
Mm-hmm.
When we fell in love, she didn't really have much of a direction, but she knew she was smart, and she knew that there wasn't much she couldn't handle. She started working at the Capitol. She worked for Speaker Laney, Speaker of the House.
She was doing politics.
Well, she's about to go to law school.
Okay.
So she was just kind of getting her chops,
mm-hmm.
right? If you will, And then when she went to law school, she did great there. I mean, like, she flourished, and she graduated great grades and got a monster offer coming out. And she worked there for a year and a half, almost 2 years, and it became really not her thing.
Yeah.
Right? She just didn't ring the bell.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, Jamey, she was like, I'm like, honey, do you know how much money you're making? She's like, yeah. I got to get out of this.
She's got the real job.
Like, she had a great job, right? Yeah. She's making bank. And she's like, I got to get out of this. I'm like, honey, you can only be happy in the clothes you're wearing. So if you got to make a move, make a move. And she did. And she went headlong into this jewelry business, and it's going on, I don't know, 10 years now. But she works every day, all day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, all day.
That's awesome.
And when she doesn't work, she feels guilty.
Yeah, or is bored early. Yeah. Are the kids entrepreneurial at all? Like, are they?
My daughter
do they have
makes,
that sort of
makes jewelry too. She's a great painter. I don't know where she's going to settle, but she's got one of those very creative brains. My son is very much interested in finance. Mm-hmm. He got into the Red McComb School of Business at UT, so that's a tough school to get into. Yeah. I was proud of him, but he'll end up, I think, in the finance world. Either with my dad or with somebody like my dad.
That's neat. Okay, we haven't talked about art. You were like, I don't know, maybe closet artist is not the right word, but you
amateur, I would say. But I love it.
When did that happen?
About 8 or 9 years ago. Like I said, man, I don't write songs all the time.
Was it a hobby? Was it an outlet? Was it on board?
It was an outlet and a hobby for a long time. And then I realized how expensive it was to do it. I mean, it's incredibly expensive to make stuff.
Did you take classes, or you're like, I bought a canvas?
I got in with a guy named Gilles Breval, who's a French. He's across all mediums. An incredible artist.
Here in Fort Worth?
No, he's in Wimberley.
Okay.
But I got it to be friends with him, and he just kind of took me through everything, from painting to working with metal to sculpting to et cetera, et cetera.
Because you're doing like these sculpture, like, I don't even know how it works, but they turn into bronze somehow.
Yeah, you
heavy big things.
They're very, very heavy. I use clay. Clay. I don't know how else to put it. It's clay. Anyway, and then we mold it into bronze. And so, I do a lot of horses and crazy
and big paintings. And
I do giant paintings.
But were you good at it at first? Like, were you naturally gifted at it, or you like?
I still don't think I'm any good at it. To be honest, I enjoy it, and there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that have bought my art. So it makes me happy to sell it. It makes me very happy to sell it.
Do you see that as a business, insane. Or is that just a hobby?
I think there was a time when I thought it could be a business.
Because you opened a gallery.
I had a gallery for a while, but I realized that I don't have the capacity to do it every day, all day. Mm-hmm. I can't.
You got to be in the mood.
Yes, and You know, a guy like Jill, man, he's 7 a.m. till dark every day in his studio, churning and burning out. You know, so
which is kind of the equivalent of like I don't want to put him in the same block, but like a Nashville songwriter. It's like 9 to 5 every day. I'm sure, like,
so no, I'm in the middle. Like I'm on the road 2 days a week, 2 to 3 days a week, every week of my life. And then a couple days I'll go sculpt. And then there'll be a day in there where I just kind of lay around.
You got rest.
That's the way I'm made, and it's worked out for me. So I have a great passion for art. I have the art collection in our house I'm so happy to walk around. You know?
It makes you feel, yeah. But that's a fun thing. I feel like you found I found this outlet. I found this.
Yeah. I'd like to say it landed on me. You know, I was not looking for a new friend. I have always had a passion for fine art. But I was at a friend of mine's place, and we were having a big table dinner, like huge table dinner. And I asked the woman whose place it was, I said, "Hey, who did that right there? I want to know who did that. And I want to buy some of that guy's art." And she goes, "That's funny. You're sitting next to him."
Oh, really?
And I looked to my left, and there's this guy, Gilles Breval.
The guy you're talking about?
Yes. Who ended up taking me totally under his wing. And I would go down I'd spend a week a month for years, going down to Wimberley and just hanging out and, you know, kind of, you know, being the shop guy, you know, sweeping up and watching everybody work. And,
you like became an intern.
Yeah, I was an intern. I was an
most
intern.
Successful
I was I was an individually, I was financially independent intern. I didn't need their help. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed that time in my life, but, yeah, he's a dear, dear friend.
That's awesome. And golf has always been a huge thing for you.
Oh, yeah. Another passion. I'm kind of that way, though. Honestly, I mean, I'm that way with everything.
You go hard if you do it. There's no
guy.
Dipping my toes in the water.
Including vodka. So I'm that. I got really into it. I've played thousands and thousands of rounds, and I won on the nationwide tour back when it was now it's the Korn Ferry Tour, but I won the amateur portion of one of their tournaments.
Did you really?
Yeah. I love it. My wife and I have a tournament, and every other year in Pebble Beach, California, where we raise money for Underdog Foundations. So basically, our foundation just kind of compiles
funds.
A bunch of money funds,
yeah,
and you know, disperses it amongst cystic fibrosis. The Ben Hogan Foundation looks after the first tee of Fort Worth, and Camp Bronco, which is for kids with asthma. The Gladney Foundation, which is a pro adoption, huge adoption place in Fort Worth, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
I have an adopted daughter.
Oh, there you go. Well
Gladney.
Done. Okay, so well done.
Are your kids adopted?
No.
How come you're into Gladney?
My brother's wife was Gladney girl.
Oh, really? Okay.
My drummer years ago, Justin, who wrote Wave on Wave with me, 2 of his daughters were adopted.
Okay.
My guitar player, Brett Danaher, his daughter's adopted. So adoption is just kind of all around me very naturally. And I just believe in it, you know? So.
And I also like that it's like, we're going to do a charity or raise money, give back thing. And we're going to go hard and do it at Pebble Beach.
Well, okay. See, this is again, this is just being smart. Okay. Where do rich guys want to go to play golf? Pebble Beach. It's not a hard sell. Like, I don't have to work my ass off.
How do you rent Pebble Beach? I mean,
it's pricey, but that's my part, right?
You didn't do that one halfway either.
No, but I was just like, we're going to do it first class or else we're not. And, it's a fun event. We've had Hootie and the Blowfish and Dennis Miller and Huey Lewis. This year we had the Bellamy Brothers.
Oh, that's fun.
It's a fun time, and everybody, you know what? If you're gonna give, they don't mind giving it in a place like Pebble.
Yeah.
Right. It'd be hard to sell that at El Paso Country Club.
Yeah, for sure. And are you like putting the details together of that, or do you like?
Yeah, Brad. Well, we have a board.
Yeah,
we have a board.
But that's a lot of work.
And I sing too. This year I sang. Me and Ray Wiley Hubbard put on a show.
That's fun.
I sing on Friday night, and then we always have a big headliner on Saturday night. And this year was with Ray, and he's just a genius. I could have put my guitar down and just let Ray go. So
that's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna hit you with a few random questions. Favorite. So you have like I use the phrase God's album. Like the first Counting Crows album, like this album is just perfect. Or the Wallflowers, those are like God's album.
I'll give you that.
Do you have an album that's like it's just a perfect album?
Oh man, that's really, really good and pointed question.
Like your kids, you're like, I want you to appreciate this album as much as I do.
I think The Rising.
Oh, by Bruce Springsteen?
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Pretty close.
Brendan O'Brien produced that,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
The drums are just smashing.
I tried to get Brendan to do my record after that. Of course, he said no because I wasn't important enough. I love that album.
That's a great album. And like an underappreciated Springsteen album.
But it's just so good.
It's really good.
Oh my God. There's just song after song. What would I say after that? Crash, Dave Matthews might be
that's
right
that's
there.
A pretty dang perfect album.
Right there. There's a Jayhawks record that I listened to a million times.
With Blue on it?
No, it's Angeline, forgive me. You give it all. Oh, it's that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Angel. It's that record. And then I would say the last one would be Heartbreaker by Ryan Adams was pretty solid too.
Yeah, that's a good one. Cool.
So yeah, I gave you 4.
It's cool. I'll take him.
Ryan ended up being psycho. Whatever happened to him? Jesus.
Did you ever play with him or meet him?
No.
I love Ryan Adams.
Yeah, but he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, man.
Yeah, he's kind of always been a little, but such a good songwriter. You're a Gibson guitar guy, right?
I am, but I also have a couple by Dusty Gregg up in Denton.
Oh yeah,
yeah, great guitar maker.
Yeah, he's like doing that full time now.
Yeah, he is.
He was like a tech for forever.
Yeah, he was the luthier of all luthiers.
Yeah. But you always, I love Gibsons.
Gibson for forever.
I hate really bright, thin, but Gibsons are just
never got into Martin.
They're beefy.
I thought Taylor was a pretty good guitar maker. Mm-hmm. I mean, really pretty good. I played a lot of Taylors throughout my life, but and then when I found Gibson, I was like, oh, that's it.
Artist you geeked out meeting. Was there anybody like you got starstruck?
It was pretty cool to meet Kid Rock. I thought he was pretty out there.
I like him as a.
Yeah, he's like he called me by name, right? We were at the CMAs in Vegas when he did that song with Sheryl Crow. We were backstage, and he came up to me and goes, he sang my song to me. He sang Wave on Waves to me, and he goes, "You're Pat Green," and I'm like, and I'd known Uncle Cracker, so he was hanging with Uncle Cracker at the time, and I'd known Uncle for a while. And anyway, he goes, "Man, me and Cracker are throwing a party, top floor, penthouse, 4 Seasons, right at the top of the Mandalay. You got to come tonight." And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna lay both eyes on that and see what that is gonna. I mean, the crazy that I
did you go?
Oh hell yes, I went. Oh my God,
was it a Kid Rock party like the type?
No,
of Kid Rock?
It was a bunch of guys drinking beer, playing video games. It was so calm and
really?
It was fun. Don't get me wrong, and funny. And there was plenty of very scantily clad women in there that it was fun to look at. But I told Corey, my wife, walking down the hall, I was like, "Honey, there's liable to be crazy. You're gonna be coke and hookers.
What
and
you
shit.
Imagine backstage is
yeah. This is gonna happen.
Yeah.
And Cracker's gonna be in there too." And we walk in and it was just, the music was at a very comfortable level. You could talk. It was fun though. It was a neat surprise.
That's fun. I met him. We were playing a show with Zach Brown very, very early on.
Zach's great. Known him for forever.
This is before, and I was too cool for Zach Brown. And now I freaking love Zach. At the time, I was like, he's this big, burly guy. And I wasn't that into country at the time. And
he knows business too. That kid's sharp.
Oh, I'm upset. Like, I'm obsessed with him now. But at the time I was too cool for school. I was like
Yeah.
20. And then anyways, Kid Rock flew in on a helicopter
Of course he
and
did.
was smoking a big cigar. It was like, no, it's like in San Diego, there's no smoking. He has a helicopter and like these girls, and he was backstage, and I handed my phone to Zach Brown, and I was like, hey, can you take a picture of me and Kid? And they were both so annoyed at me. They were like,
shut up, Kid.
I was one of my embarrassing regrets.
No. I told Zach Brown not to sign a record deal with, I gave Zach some really bad advice to realize.
His band is unreal.
Yeah, no, dude, that guy's, he had it made from day one. He really did.
Yeah.
He had everything. He had all the tools, and he took it to that next level, and he stayed there
and kept delivering every single time. And they're like that. Didn't fit in a box. Did their own thing, their own sound. It's like a jam band, but they're like just this other, and people loved it.
Yeah, no, they did good.
Anybody else other than Kid Rock? Where you're like
George Strait was cool. He was always. I don't know. But I mean, I guess Willie Nelson was really the first time where I was just like slack jawed.
Mm-hmm.
First time I ever got to get up on the bus and hang in the Willie way was
in the Willie way.
It was pretty exciting.
Yeah, and that was a big part of your story. Just open.
I mean, we did it so many times. I'd have to have a guide to get me back to my bus after the show. But I loved being around him. He was signing autographs one time out. So we were doing a show in College Station, and it was raining, and I was up on the bus, and he went out and signed autographs. He's out there for like 30 minutes, comes in just soaking wet like a dog. And I said, man, Willie, you don't have to sign autographs. Like, you're Willie Nelson, right? And he goes, I've been waiting 30 years for them to want my autograph. I'll be damned if I turn them down now.
That's cool.
I was like, So he had those moments where he just impacted me like that.
That's cool. Are there any books or resources or that were just really instrumental in your life that you maybe give away now? Like, I love recommending this book, or it was just a huge
the Robert Fulghum book called "It Was on Fire When I Laid Down on It" is a bunch of short stories that I think are pretty.
What's it? Robert Fulghum.
Robert Fulghum. It was on fire when I laid down on it. Same guy who wrote Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Back in the 80s and early 90s, he was writing those books. Man, I really enjoy reading anything by Stephen King. I think
You're a fiction reader?
I love fiction,
okay.
But I like his books more than anybody.
Yeah,
and he has a book on writing.
Oh, really?
Is really, I think. I mean, any kind of writing that you do, whether it's I like to write short stories, and
really?
Yeah.
Is there a book of short stories in your
maybe?
future?
Maybe I don't know. It's really just more of a thing that I can do so I can waste some time.
Yeah,
and But I think the way he talks about writing and about, the things that you omit being almost as important as the things that you write.
There's truth in that.
How many, takes this long to describe something. Can we take out half the words and say the same thing? I apply that to almost all my writing.
Your writing.
So especially songwriting. We don't have to say it in that many words. Right.
Tom Petty, don't bore us, get to the chorus.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great way to put it. God rest his soul. God damn, he was important. But yeah. Stephen King's great. Robert Fulghum. Man, I love Tolkien. I love going back and reading the earlier stuff, like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Those are like my first fantasy. As far as spirituality, I love C.S. Lewis. Love C.S. Lewis. Screw Tape Letters. Tremendous imagination it took to write the Screw Tape Letters.
And you still read that now, and you're like, this is so relevant.
Yeah, it's so exciting, right? Because he's writing these. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to spoiler on what Screw Tape's about, but man, my dad turned me on to that stuff. I love Chronicles of Narnia. I love fantasy.
Yeah, you appreciate story.
Yeah, great. Yeah, give me something that's good. Give me a lot of layers.
Cool. Do you have a routine? Are you a routine guy? I get up at the same time, I eat this, I make this, or are you kind of what?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm early riser.
You
early
are?
Go to bed.
You probably used to not be an early riser.
No, I mean, no. There's no doubt. When I was younger, I was, stay up as late as I could and sleep all day. But no, since I've been 40 or so, I get up really early, and I don't I don't drink coffee in the summer.
Oh, really?
That's too hot. And I'm too big and it makes me sweat. But usually, once it gets down into the 60s at night, I'll drink coffee in the morning, leave the door open. I do a little reading. I love to meditate.
Mm-hmm. You meditate every morning or most?
Yep. Almost, yeah. I'd say most every day. I do my, I go to see my group of people that I love, and off we go in the day. I go to the grocery store for the family. I'm
You're the guy. Grocery store?
Absolutely. I like to cook. I cook a lot. We had steaks and polenta.
Oh, there you go.
Last night with a salad. And what else did we have? Oh, we had some ice cream, brambleberry.
There you go.
Yeah, fruity. I mean, I like to write at least once a week. I have to get into I have a journal, and I have to get into that at least once a week and write.
And is that like self-reflection, or is it to-dos, or is it I'm just prose, I'm writing song ideas?
A lot of self, and sometimes it's just funny ideas. I mean, I just wrote a little short story on how to drop your iPhone and the impacts of dropping your iPhone globally. I mean, okay. I really kind of had to stretch out to get that one, but I don't know. I wrote a story called "The Party Pooper" about a guy who he's a contract killer, right? And so instead of shooting people, he destroys their lives to a point where they end up taking themselves out, right? So he creates all this intense pressure around them, like false implications of impropriety and philanderism, and then they just like their whole life crumbles into
So you're writing like stories and like
you're my brain's funny. It's a good place to be. It's a funny place to live.
I think that's a great glimpse into your brain, honestly. Like when you think of that in context of the music and the art and and then I'm also like you just got a lot going on. You got to get it out. And
my imagination is by far the most fun part of my own experience.
You think that's kind of like
right. And I've been that way forever. Like, I mean, man, yeah, I love playing around in the fantasy side of my life.
And when you open yourself, there's also like a learned skill to that. Like you can have it, but if you don't open it up or have the discipline to sit in front of a journal or get in front of a canvas,
you better use it. It does weaken. It doesn't go away.
Yeah,
but it's better when you use it a lot.
Using it. Yeah. Okay. Final question. What does legacy mean for you? What do you want?
It's already there.
Well, what is
Rainy green and Kellis green?
And what do you want them to remember or take away from like what you've done or given them or taught them? Or
respect, integrity, courage, compassion. I don't know, imagination.
You feel like I've done it. Like that's.
Well, I think I've tried to tell them that's the root, right? That's the things that hold the tree on the ground. Those are the big things. I think I've told him that. I haven't always been the brightest shining example of that by any stretch, but man, I mean, they're there. They're moving. They're going. They're good kids.
Yeah, and that's your I'm most proud of that.
Man, the only thing that matters in all of this is my family, my wife and kids.
Yeah,
there's nothing else.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for being on here.
Jamey,
we
all right,
covered
it's
a
my
lot.
pleasure, man. Yeah, I think we covered it all.
This was
Other
fun.
than I was born in San Antonio, Texas, April 5th, 1972. We covered everything else.
We can go back to that.
No, we're good.
This is awesome, man. I appreciate you.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Congratulations, you made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Stories with Soul. If you enjoyed the interview and like what you heard, please help us out and share, subscribe, and like anywhere you listen to podcasts. When you share and subscribe, it is insanely helpful and allows us to keep producing new episodes. You can always join us directly in the studio by watching the video version on our website, 6thAveStorytelling.com. Stories with Soul is brought to you by 6th Ave Storytelling, an organic marketing company building standout brands on the foundation of story. You're obsessed with your business, and we want to make the world obsessed with it too. Thanks for listening.